Controlled every aspect of her life. He is accused of frequently beating her and would hide her in hotel rooms for days until the bruising and signs of abuse were gone.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is no stranger to controversy, but the latest allegations against him are nothing short of shocking. Even from behind bars, it seems like Diddy's influence knows no bounds. Prosecutors are now accusing him of continuing to manipulate the legal process in his case, using underhanded tactics to contact witnesses and sway public opinion. What's truly mind-blowing is that he's allegedly doing all of this while locked up inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. It's almost as if prison walls can't contain his reach.
You know, I think in federal court and for these charges, they would say it's routine, but in the public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, I mean, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail.
Now, when most people think of jail, they imagine a life of isolation and limited access to the outside world. But for someone with Diddy's wealth and power, it appears those rules don't quite apply in the same way. Prosecutors are painting a picture of a man who refuses to give up control, even from within the confines of a cell. This isn't just about breaking a few minor prison rules. The accusations against Diddy suggest he's been running a full-blown operation to influence the outcome of his trial. Let's break it down. According to court filings, Diddy has been pulling out all the stops to contact witnesses in his upcoming trial. The charges he's facing are serious: racketeering, trafficking, and other offenses that could put him away for a very long time. But instead of letting his legal team handle things, Diddy has allegedly taken matters into his own hands, trying to manipulate the system to his advantage.
Took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
Prosecutors say Diddy has been relentless in his efforts to reach out to people who could testify against him. And get this, he's allegedly been using other inmates' phone accounts to make unauthorized calls. It's like something out of a movie. He's said to have bribed fellow prisoners, offering them money through their commissary accounts in exchange for access to their phone privileges. This way he could make calls without being tracked by the authorities. It's a sneaky move, but it's also highly illegal. The prosecutors claim he's used the phone accounts of at least 8 different inmates, which shows just how far he's willing to go. And that's not all. Diddy is also accused of using 3-way calls to circumvent the prison's monitoring system. For those who don't know, inmates are only allowed to call people on an approved contact list, and all calls are recorded. But by setting up 3-way calls, Diddy could speak with people who weren't on that list and have conversations that wouldn't raise red flags with prison officials. It's a clever trick, but one that's landed him in even more hot water.
This has to be a 100% culture shock. I can't imagine living a lifestyle of the incredibly rich and famous and then going into this very dark, impersonal, cold, austere facility.
The prosecution's court filings are clear. They believe Diddy is actively trying to corruptly influence the testimony of key witnesses. They've described his actions as relentless, accusing him of doing everything in his power to manipulate the outcome of his trial. It's not just about making a few unauthorized phone calls. The government believes Diddy is orchestrating a full-scale campaign to obstruct justice. One of the most disturbing allegations is that Diddy's efforts have extended outside the prison walls. Prosecutors say he's instructed his family and associates to reach out to potential witnesses on his behalf. In fact, a review of recorded phone calls allegedly revealed that Diddy directed his family members to contact people who could testify in the case. It's almost as if he's running his own legal defense strategy from behind bars, using his influence to ensure that those who might speak out against him stay silent.
You're disrespectful to women. For real, you're probably the Jeffrey Epstein of hip-hop.
But perhaps the most bizarre part of this whole story is the claim that Diddy has been using social media to try to sway public opinion and ultimately the jury pool. According to the prosecution, he's been orchestrating social media campaigns designed to paint him in a positive light. One example is a video posted by his children on his birthday, in which they called him from prison to wish him well. On the surface, it seems like an innocent family moment, but prosecutors argue that Diddy carefully curated this content to influence potential jurors. They claim he even monitored the analytics of the post to ensure it had the desired effect.
I saw it posted yesterday all over our social media pages. Cassie filed a lawsuit in New York City against Diddy.
Yikes.
She's claiming she was stuck in a decade-long cycle of abuse.
It's a wild allegation, but it fits with the larger narrative of Diddy as a master manipulator. He's always been known for his ability to control his public image, and it appears that even prison hasn't stopped him from trying to shape the way people see him. This social media strategy is just one more way he's allegedly trying to undermine the legal process and sway the outcome of his case. The big question is, will it work? Diddy's legal team, of course, denies all the allegations. They've argued that the government is overreaching and that Diddy's communications from prison have been entirely above board. His lawyers are pushing hard for him to be released on bail, claiming that the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center are making it impossible for him to properly prepare for his trial. They've described the jail as a harsh environment, with frequent lockdowns and limited access to basic resources like pens and paper. One of Diddy's attorneys even complained that he's not allowed to use a laptop to review the voluminous volume of material in his case.
Special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown unit, which means that any movement within that unit is controlled and coordinated, and no inmate moves outside of his cell without being in full restraints, to include leg irons, handcuffs, a belly chain, and at least 2, if not 3 staff members escorting them.
But the prosecution isn't buying it. They've argued that Diddy is too much of a flight risk and poses a serious threat to the integrity of the trial. In their view, no amount of security or house arrest would be enough to prevent him from continuing his efforts to tamper with witnesses. They've pointed out that Diddy has a long history of getting people to do his bidding, whether it's employees, family members, or now fellow inmates. And they're concerned that if he were to be released, he would find new ways to undermine the legal process. It's a high-stakes battle, and the outcome could have major implications for Diddy's future. If the court sides with the prosecution, Diddy could remain behind bars until his trial, which is set for May 2025. That's a long time to be locked up, especially for someone who's used to living a life of luxury. But if his legal team manages to secure his release, it could give him the opportunity to continue building his defense and potentially sway the outcome of the case.
The issue is, it seems as though he wants to kind of like exert power and dominance over people who don't really want it.
One thing is clear, Diddy isn't going down without a fight. He's facing some of the most serious charges of his life, and he's doing everything he can to maintain control over the situation. Whether it's using other inmates' phone privileges, orchestrating social media campaigns, or directing his family to contact witnesses, Diddy is pulling out all the stops to protect himself. But will it be enough? The prosecution seems determined to hold him accountable, and they're not backing down. They've already secured multiple indictments against him, and they're continuing to build their case. The next few months will be crucial as both sides prepare for what promises to be a blockbuster trial. Diddy's situation is a stark reminder of the power that wealth and influence can wield, even in the face of serious legal trouble. While most people would be at the mercy of the justice system in a case like this, Diddy appears to be bending the rules to his advantage. It's a fascinating and troubling look at how celebrity power can shape the legal process.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap industry.
As we wait for the next developments in this case, one thing is certain. Diddy's story is far from over. Whether he manages to secure his release or continues to fight from behind bars, his influence will undoubtedly continue to play a major role in what happens next. And with so much at stake, it's clear that this is just the beginning of what promises to be a long and dramatic legal battle. As more details emerge, we'll be watching closely to see how Diddy's alleged tactics play out in court, and whether his attempts to manipulate the system will ultimately succeed or backfire.
Rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein-type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything other than that.
So how did we even get here? How did Sean Diddy Combs, one of the biggest names in the music industry, end up facing such serious allegations and potentially even orchestrating witness tampering from behind bars? To understand how things spiraled to this point, we need to take a look back at Diddy's rise to power and how his empire, built on music, fashion, and business, might have also laid the groundwork for the darker accusations he's now facing. Diddy's story begins like a classic rags to riches tale. Coming up from humble beginnings in Harlem, New York, he worked his way into the music industry, starting as an intern at Uptown Records before launching his own record label, Bad Boy Records, in 1993. The label quickly became a powerhouse in hip-hop, with Diddy not only managing but also producing some of the genre's biggest stars. Think the Notorious B.I.G., Lil' Kim, and Faith Evans. His entrepreneurial spirit didn't stop there. He expanded into fashion with his clothing line Sean John and ventured into spirits and media, turning himself into a multi-industry mogul.
Now you got the Diddy situation where he jumps on a private jet, they say yesterday, and is on his way to the Cape Verde Islands.
But while Diddy's public image was one of success, wealth, and influence, there have long been whispers about the darker side of his empire. For years, rumors swirled about the way Diddy allegedly controlled those around him, and not just in a business sense. Former collaborators and insiders have hinted at a pattern of manipulation and intimidation behind the scenes, suggesting that Diddy wasn't afraid to use his power to get what he wanted. One of the earliest signs of trouble came in the form of his tumultuous relationship with the late Notorious B.I.G. While the two were initially close, there were always rumors that Diddy had exploited Biggie's success for his own gain. Some even speculated that Diddy didn't do enough to protect Biggie in the dangerous East Coast rap feud that ultimately led to the rapper's tragic end. Though never proven, these rumors cast a shadow over Diddy's reputation, making people wonder whether his loyalty was to his artists or to his own bottom line.
And I remember, I don't know if you know what his voice sounds like, but I felt like I was in the presence of his monster inside.
Fast forward to the 2000s, and more cracks began to show. As Diddy's wealth and influence continued to grow, so did the stories of his alleged misconduct. The whispers became louder in 2023 when his longtime ex-partner, Cassie Ventura, filed a shocking lawsuit against him. Cassie's accusations blew the lid off what many had suspected for years, that Diddy's world was far darker than anyone had imagined. She accused him of years of psychological and physical mistreatment, and while the details were disturbing, what stood out most were the allegations of control and dominance. According to Cassie, Diddy had orchestrated elaborate events, using his wealth and power to manipulate her and others around him. These claims painted a picture of a man who not only craved control but would go to extreme lengths to maintain it. Cassie's suit was settled quickly, but it opened the floodgates. Suddenly, more people began to come forward with their own stories, each one seemingly more shocking than the last. And it wasn't just ex-partners who had allegations. Other women and even some men claimed to have been caught up in Diddy's world, where everything seemed to revolve around his desires and whims. These accusations ranged from emotional manipulation to more serious allegations involving elaborate parties and events that blurred the lines of consent and power.
Of course, there's layers upon layers. When you get into these conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers.
The most damning accusations, however, came in connection to what insiders referred to as Diddy's infamous events. These weren't your typical celebrity parties. According to various sources, these gatherings were highly exclusive, attended by A-list celebrities, politicians, and business moguls. The parties were said to be lavish, with everything meticulously planned to reflect Diddy's high-class image. But behind the glitz and glamour, darker things were allegedly happening. Multiple lawsuits have pointed to these events as the backdrop for some of the most troubling allegations against Diddy. One anonymous source recalled an event in 2014 at a Las Vegas nightclub where major celebrities, such as Nicki Minaj, Lil' Kim, and Mary J. Blige, were reportedly in attendance. The source described how Diddy appeared to be in complete control, with everyone around him acting according to his orders. While nothing illegal has been directly tied to these public figures, the lawsuit suggests that some attendees may have witnessed questionable behavior but chose to remain silent, likely out of fear of jeopardizing their own careers. After all, Diddy wasn't just another celebrity. He was a gatekeeper in the industry, someone whose favor could make or break an artist's career.
That clearly there is a criminal investigation underway and that they believe that there would be evidence of crimes in one or both of these homes.
And this is where things get even more complicated. If the rumors are to be believed, Diddy's influence extended far beyond the music industry. He had connections in Hollywood, the fashion world, and even politics. Some have speculated that certain individuals in positions of power may have turned a blind eye to his behavior, allowing him to continue operating unchecked for years. This, they say, is how someone like Diddy could allegedly pull off such elaborate schemes and maintain his influence even as the allegations against him mounted. But as more lawsuits hit the courts, it became harder to ignore. One of the most publicized accusations came from a former producer named Rodney "Lil Rod" Jones, who filed a lawsuit accusing Diddy of a long list of disturbing actions. According to Jones, Diddy had created an environment where control and domination were the norms. Jones described how, while working on Diddy's 2023 album, The Love Album, Off the Grid, he had been subjected to manipulation, harassment, and even threats. In his lawsuit, Jones alleged that Diddy had used his wealth and connections to force him into participating in questionable behavior, all while making it clear that defiance wasn't an option.
Notes. Not only should he have apologized to Cassie in that video, he should have apologized to all of the general public that he lied to.
Jones' lawsuit not only accused Diddy of personal misconduct, but also made broader claims about the toxic culture within his business empire. He painted a picture of an environment where employees were expected to cater to Diddy's every whim, no matter how inappropriate or dangerous. And, if the allegations are true, it wasn't just employees who were caught up in this. Other celebrities, some of whom are household names, were allegedly aware of what was happening but chose to stay quiet, either out of fear or because they too benefited from Diddy's influence. Jones's claims were explosive, but they were just the tip of the iceberg. Soon after, other individuals came forward with similar stories, each one adding more layers to the growing scandal around Diddy. Some of the most shocking allegations involved the way Diddy allegedly used his events to manipulate the people around him. According to sources, these parties were carefully crafted to create an atmosphere of excess and indulgence, where attendees were encouraged to let loose and forget about the outside world. But behind the scenes, Diddy was allegedly pulling the strings, using his wealth and power to control and manipulate others.
Well, if he really was filming everybody, I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
As more people came forward, it became clear that Diddy's influence extended far beyond the music industry. His connections in Hollywood, business, and even politics meant that few people were willing to speak out against him. And this is why, according to some insiders, he was able to continue his behavior for so long without facing any serious consequences. One of the most disturbing aspects of these allegations is the idea that Diddy wasn't just acting alone. Multiple lawsuits have suggested that others in his inner circle were complicit in his behavior, either by actively participating or by turning a blind eye. Some have even speculated that certain celebrities who attended his events were aware of what was happening but chose to stay quiet, fearing that speaking out would ruin their own careers.
Either way, if you got to run to a private island because your evil doings is doing so much and they storming your house, it's one of these.
This idea of complicity has become a central theme in the ongoing legal battles surrounding Diddy. As more lawsuits are filed, the question of who knew what and when has become increasingly important. Some have suggested that Diddy's powerful connections might have protected him from scrutiny for years, allowing him to operate in a way that few others could. And now, as the allegations pile up, those same connections might be working to keep certain details from coming to light. But even with all these powerful forces at play, it seems like Diddy's empire might finally be crumbling. The lawsuits have opened the door to public scrutiny in a way that Diddy has never faced before. And while his legal team continues to fight back, arguing that the allegations are baseless and that Diddy is being unfairly targeted, the sheer volume of accusations is hard to ignore.
Replete with very, very serious and salacious allegations, including allegations that Combs had cameras throughout.
The big question now is, where does Diddy go from here? His trial is set for May 2025, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If the accusations are proven true, it could mark the end of Diddy's career and his legacy as one of the most influential figures in music. But even if he manages to beat the charges, the damage to his reputation may be irreversible. After all, in today's world, public opinion can be just as powerful as any legal verdict.
that this is the end of the Diddy story as we know it.
As we wait for the trial to unfold, one thing is clear. This isn't just about Diddy. This case has become symbol of something much bigger, a reckoning for the culture of silence and complicity that has allowed powerful figures to operate without accountability for far too long. Whether or not Diddy is convicted, his case shines a light on the darker side of celebrity power and the lengths some people will go to protect their image.
Do you believe Diddy is a dangerous person?
Yes.
So what do you think? Is Diddy really the master manipulator that these lawsuits make him out to be? Or is he being unfairly targeted because of his wealth and success? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts on this unfolding scandal.